Hello, my name is Logan Schreck, and I'm here to talk about the mental health scene at UNM. Mental health is an issue that we don't often talk about here on universities. I feel like today it's become definitely a lot more popular, with a lot more like familiarity amongst people, especially students. But I feel like we just don't have the same capacity of how to go about and help the mental health scene at universities. Luckily enough, here at UNM we have the Shack, but sadly the Shack just isn't what a lot of campuses should be having right now. It's a very basic, very minimum. Like they offer therapy, but it's only online therapy. That just doesn't really help, especially in a world where we've been so disconnected from everyone. It would be nice to be reconnected with our peers and be reconnected with therapists. And so Shack, I think, is a great starting point, but as you'll see, I think there's a lot better that we can go about and do. So mental health is actually incredibly correlated with a lot of college, specifically graduation rates. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but graduation rates have kind of been in decline for a couple of years now. Actually, in fact, a recent report from Timely MD, this is a company that focuses on higher education, has asked over 1,600 students between the ages of 18 and 29 to assess the current state of mental health on their campuses. And here's what we found. 88% of them said that they believe there's mental health crisis on campuses nationwide, which is a huge issue and something that we should really be looking at more. 51% of those said that they're more stressed in 2022 than they were in 2021. And you would think even though we're further away from the COVID pandemic, we're still really focused in on this, and it's really hurting us as students. 64% said that they intend on seeking support for their mental health, but 70% experienced emotional distress from COVID-19. Just more effects from COVID, even though it's been a couple of years, like seemingly removed now, it's still having a big effect, especially in New Mexico, where we as a state kept the mask mandate for a lot longer than most people. We kept online for a lot more time than a lot of states. Has had a big effect on mental health, and it was well warranted because we needed the safety of our people. But now we're seeing the big mental health effects on it. So just a couple of facts is that UNM has had has a 33.7% graduation rate within 4 years in 2020. Comparatively, though, back in 2020, 4-year rate at Arizona State University is 50.6% graduation rate, which is just significantly higher, nearly double. It is truly a crime that we can have a school that's literally so close to us. It's just Arizona. We're touching the state, and we have a similar funding structure, and yet sadly we have such a lower percentage of graduation rates. So I think a big way that we can improve is to look at certain schools. We just talked about Arizona State University, so I want to continue to talk about ASU. I think they're a really great stepping point and something that we can look to obtain. So they actually, they're one of the top rated schools for mental health, even though they are close by, and we have a couple schools that are close by that are equally as good, but this one, it shows it's like us, and there's Colorado and a bunch of schools surrounding us in Wyoming, but for whatever reason, UNM is just struggling in this department. So at ASU, there's actually been 90% clinical mental health counseling since the pandemic, which means that they've actually come up with a system where they partnered with a company called Active Minds to provide a bunch of programs ranging from addiction treatment to health awarenesses and so much more. So one of its wellness programs, for example, is like focuses on building a community of compassionate communication and education. So it's this giant community where counseling is all like focused on strengthening a person's motivation to change and motivation to grow, which I think is a very big helpful thing that we can always look forward to. And then they also have fun events, like they have Denim Day, which is to raise sexual violence awareness. It's something to support on campus, and sadly, I can't find anything on UNM. And as someone who's doing a full-on final project as a grade, and I can't find anything that's adjacent to that on UNM's campus, is pretty upsetting, except for things involving Greek life, which luckily do support a bunch of things like a sorority on campus has an event where they raise money for domestic violence awareness, and I think that's incredibly important. But it's sad if the state of affairs is Greek life has more say in the mental health and raising of these statistics than the university itself. So I believe that UNM should adopt a lot of these techniques. Now, on to me. Personally, I have been affected by mental health quite a bit, especially since coming to college. I started off my freshman year last year pretty great, felt really comfortable, and a couple things happened. Long story short, I care about this topic because a situation happened where my old suite mate had turned into a stalker. After months and months and months of small escalating problems and outbursts, it finally escalated into, at the end of the first semester of my freshman year, I was told by him that if I wasn't going to be his friend, he was going to kill himself. So I went through all the normal steps. I went and talked to the university and everything, and it just sadly didn't work out. I felt isolated and deepened by my mental health struggles, and I went to talk to the university and to Lobo Health and the Shack, and sadly I couldn't get anything back in return besides like, hey, we can set up a triage appointment, like if you want, but maybe. And I was like, and I didn't get, and they never contacted him about his mental health or anything. It felt like I was just in the wrong, even though I was trying to seek help. But basically, what I believe, this is just my story is just a short one about how mental health on this campus needs to change, and I don't think anyone should feel alone like I did, and I think UNM needs to implement a better plan.